love knots. And we're going to move forward now to the last section of Pairs Essentials, where we're really getting deeper into emotional intelligence and finding out where things come from, what are the fears and hopes that we come into relationships with, what are some of the things that are stifling possibly amazing, beautiful relationships. Love knots are those ideas that we come into a relationship thinking that it should be one way when they're really not based on any bit of reality. So as we open it up, we'll go ahead and ask our audience members to go ahead and read this first slide. We get to the next picture. So what does everybody think about this? What do you think this picture has to say? Really important, keep them active. Keep them engaged. The fact that they are thinking about what they have thought going into a relationship keeps it experiential. Again, Lori Gordon, marriage and family therapist and founder of Pairs from Washington, D.C., published a book of 52 different love knots. There are so many commonly held beliefs that we walk into a relationship with that seem to be true, but they're not at all true. And what happens is it causes friction within a relationship. What we're doing now is exploring those beliefs. We're really going into understanding more about ourselves and others. So we start with the very first one. If you really loved me. Go ahead and ask somebody in your class to read it. Love knot number 1, which is if you really love me. Please don't refer to them as numbers. There are 7 that we're going to go through, but this love knot is truly called if you really love me. I would not pick one partner to read the love knot and the other partner to read the untangled. One person can read both of them, or you can call somebody else in the room, but I wouldn't make it a habit of having the couple read a love knot and untangle it. Okay, so the first one. If you really love me, you would know what I want and you would do it. And since you don't, you obviously don't care. Of course, we'd untangle it, but reach out to the audience and say, did anybody find this familiar? What's really important as we try to make every part of the Pairs curriculum an experiential experience is that we're asking them that even though we're just reading these love knots, it still needs to be an experience for them. We're asking them to please look within themselves and see if any of these are true for them. Or if they've seen it in somebody else and think it might be true for somebody else. And this is the deepest part of the Pairs Essentials, where you're really looking deep and trying to figure out some of those feelings that you have that went unnoticed in the past, and starting to try to identify them in somebody else so that we can have better understanding. The next slide. When I tell you, you need to ask somebody in the audience to go ahead and read that love knot. And we talk about it. Go ahead and just talk about something where you relate to it or where you've seen it relate. But as we're going through it, feel free to be a little vulnerable and be a little transparent and let them know. So when I tell you how I feel, you interrupt, disagree, give advice, so I stop telling you. We ask, does that sound familiar? How many times has that happened that sometimes you weren't seeking advice? Yet when it was given to you, you felt as if they should have known. They should have known that all you wanted to do was vent. We learn to ask for that. We need to learn to just let them know. I really don't want advice. I don't need somebody to fix it. I understand you might want to, and I thank you for that, but please go ahead and let me vent. That's something where we can't expect somebody to be a mind reader and know what we want. But we go ahead and can let them know. If you are in pain, go ahead and ask somebody in your audience to read that love knot and untangle it. This happens oftentimes, whether it's with veterans and or somebody who's sick or somebody who's dealing with trauma, whether it's somebody who has had pain. There's so many times that we might be taking care of somebody who is sick, and it gets us upset that we can't just fix it. That definitely happens, and then all of a sudden we're upset with the person because we feel inadequate. But it's okay to learn that we can just empathize and we can just be supportive. We don't have to take away their pain. What our part is to be as supportive as we can and to alleviate what we can. The next love knot. If I tell you, we can't expect you to know what we want. We can't expect you to be a mind reader, but we can appreciate the gift that you give us, that you give me, whatever that might be. And understanding that in fact, you thought that I like it. The next love knot is I will need you. Go ahead and ask somebody to read it. Part of this love knot where this one comes up in a lot of relationships is, if somebody's in the military and needs to get deployed, if they travel a lot, sometimes it happens that, your partner's about to leave or your partner's about to go on a trip and people get scared. People wonder if they're going to come back. People wonder what's going to happen. They start pushing them away. And that's one of the places that this comes. But please go ahead and as you learn about untangling it with your participants, ask for them for where they feel it's familiar. It's really important that for every single one of these love knots, you're really turning to your audience and making sure that they're keeping that idea of trying to figure out which ones that they come into a relationship with. Maybe they're not exactly the same, but they are exploring which ones are true for them. The next love knot. If we don't agree. Some people believe that if they don't agree, that they have to be right. Because if they're truly wrong, it might be something that you're saying that they're inept, that they're not right, that they're inadequate, that they're ignorant. So go ahead and untangle that love knot with your participants and explore how amazing it is that we all don't have to agree. We're all different pieces of a puzzle. We have so many experiences and we're all very unique. And it's lovely that we can communicate together and sort of walk this world together being different. And the last one is if I ask. This one's really important to talk about after somebody reads it and untangles it, in the sense of making sure that we're able to confide in each other, making sure that we're not passing sailboats. As we're just doing things in our lives, we're going to pick up the kids, we're going to work, the other one's picking up the dry cleaners, going to work, doing whatnot. But we truly are communicating with each other and letting each other know about ourselves and what our thoughts are, what our feelings are, what our dreams are. And that is really the lifeblood of intimacy. It's hard to be intimacy when you really have that emotional openness. Just as we spoke about back in the relationship roadmap, talking about the fact that it is a biologically based need. So we're always referring back to that relationship roadmap as well. Now give your participants time to fill out the worksheet. Turn on some music. Review the worksheet that you see right here on the slide and let them know it doesn't have to be exact. Dr. Lori Gordon literally had 52 love knots. Now there's many love knots. These are just 7. They can cross it out, put in a new one, they can change some words to fit exactly what their love knot is. And this is sort of the first time, that they're exploring what fits for them, and then also what they suspect fits for their partner. It's not that they're assuming per se, it's that now they're learning more and practicing the habit of really empathizing and putting themselves in other people's shoes and seeing what might be true for them. Put on some soft music and give them some time. You don't feel free to not walk around the room. You don't need to walk around the room. Something that you will ask them to fill out on their own and then go ahead and share with each other. But as we're getting closer to the end of Pairs Essentials, you should see that that bubble of that couple is just stronger and stronger as they go. Even though it's in a group format, it's really about their experience with each other. Once they're done with the worksheet, go ahead and ask them. If anybody wants to share what they found out, please remind them to check with their partner and make sure that it's okay to say it out loud. You don't want to hear something that would make anybody uncomfortable. And reminding them that we're always checking in with our partner before we're sharing their information is really important. It's just part of being respectful to their partner's feelings. Past that, we're going to go ahead to confiding a love knot. Please go ahead and have that up on your screen. Get a volunteer couple to come up. Same as every other exercise. We're going to ask for them to sit leveling style. We'll have 2 chairs looking at each other. We will also bring our chair next to them to make sure that we're not standing above them. And let them know that this is one of the confiding wheels. Same thing as the talking tips. This is the confiding a love knot. And we're going to go around the wheel with 10 sentence steps. The invitation is asking if you have the time, if you are ready to be able to do this tool with me, because I wanted to share about a love knot that I have. And it allows us to have some time just with each other. As, let's say, if I was doing it, as I self-explore myself. I'm a self-detective. Just going through my love knot and saying it out loud and wanting to confide that with my partner. So it starts with the love knot I want to work on is. It might be one of the 7 that we just passed. It might be a new one. What their assumption has been, where they think this belief came from. Oftentimes we're really connecting these deep feelings that we never even knew, that we might have not known existed, with where did I get this from? Was it one of my caretakers? Was it something I watched? But the seed was planted somewhere. And we get to do that self-discovery. What I noticed in my past was, right now we're really starting to link feelings today with all the puzzle pieces of our lives. The price I have paid in my life for having this belief, that's a big one. Sometimes you realize you've always been pushing people away. Sometimes you realize you've lost relationships. Sometimes you realize you've made somebody feel a certain way. It's great to explore all that as we're going around the wheel. And the same for the other person. Now you're saying the price you have paid for this belief. So you're confronting it, you're acknowledging it, and you're really saying it out there. Please make sure that you've reminded them to say short sentences for their partner to be able to repeat back. And if it's correct, they'd say thank you and go to the next one. What I can do for myself to untangle this love knot. That could be many things for different people, but we allow them to explore that on their own. What you can do to help me is, that's very much leading all the way back to concerns with recommendations, or even the fair fight for change. When you say, I would like you to do this, can you do it? We're learning to be comfortable and make it a habit to ask for what we want. I realize what you realize and your hopes. That's confiding a love knot. Make sure they do appreciations afterward. They hug, they embrace, they say thank you, whatever that looks like for them. And go ahead and let everybody know to get in the leveling position, invite your partner, and go ahead and get started. They would do the confiding the love knot completely, and when one partner is done, then the other one will go. Go ahead and put on some soft music and give them their space to dive in to wherever they're diving into together. And just let them know if they have any questions to raise their hand, and you'll be right there. After the confiding the love knot wheel is done and the exercises are done, and you've given them plenty of time, always have tissues in the room in case it's emotional for some people. When you get back together, you ask them, how did it go? We're always debriefing a little bit. How did it feel? Did you discover something new?